Report after report that's a poorly worded sentence. Many reports, report after one after the other, they're coming out saying that Nick Reiner had been in mental decline for some time prior to the murders of his parents, Rob Reiner and Michele Singer Reiner, which kind of comes as no surprise here, but it does kind of inform what might happen in court coming up as Nick Reiner faces murder charges for the murder of his parents. So let's see what the reports are saying and dig in a little bit, see what we can learn. Stick with me. This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, my friend, and welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish. Thank you very much for being here, wherever here is for you. And wherever here is for you, please share that with me in the comments. I just absolutely love knowing where everybody's joining from. For the last few days, we have been focused on this channel on the murder of Rob Reiner and Michele Singer Reiner, the Hollywood icons who brought us so much entertainment, so many laughs over the years, so much. It was a shock to all of us when on Sunday we learned that they had been either stabbed or slashed to death inside their Brentwood home. We do know they were sharp force injuries. We've heard both. We've heard slashing and stabbing. It was a shock. And I'm sure it's a shock to you. It's a shock to so many people. On this channel, we're going to work really hard to temper our speculation with humanity and with compassion, as has been asked of us by their surviving children. So I just want to keep that in mind. Let's set the stage for what it is that we're going to be talking about today. Now, oftentimes here on the channel, I will read to you from reports that are happening in the media. I work, for those of you who are new, I work as a local reporter at a hyper-local news organization in Western Pennsylvania. It's been pounded into me. The need for proper attribution, and in today's, I guess, media environment, man, I didn't bring any water for me today. I'm not prepared, guys. Anyway, in today's media environment, there are so many reports that just say sources. The sources are unnamed. They are anonymous. They're given anonymity, and they're given so much anonymity that we don't know if it's 1, 2, or 400 sources. And I like to shy away from that when we can, but we can't always. And in today's news, as I was going through all of the publications that I read, which includes partisan publications, it includes political publications, it includes entertainment publications, everything that people were saying about, that reports were saying about the mental health of Nick Reiner. Let's get him up here real quick. All pointed back to, as their source that they attributed, TMZ. Now, I think TMZ does some pretty darn good reporting sometimes, but they are a an outlet that is all about the unnamed reports. So let me I just realized that I didn't get, there we go, that's ready. All right, so I just want to give that kind of heads up that all the information that's out there about Mr. Reiner's diagnoses all seem to come from the report that I'm going to bring you now. But we're not going to just stick with that. We're going to try to go a little bit deeper. Okay. I do have 1, 2, 3 TMZ reports, all of which are used as attributed reports in other publications, including like the New York Times and Wall Street Journal. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. Now, real quick, I want to chime in with you guys, see if you guys are telling me where you're from. Gotta see where you're from. Let's see. We got Lake George, New York. Let's see if this is going to come up for us. There we go. Jacksonville, Florida, South Lake Tahoe. Tuning in from Colorado, watching from Utah, Lynn Valley Lake, Kansas, San Jose, California, Gusty, Virginia. The winds are blowing down there. How many? New York, Greenbrier, Arkansas. Oh, did I get loud? I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to blow out your eardrums there. Southeastern Kentucky is in the house. So glad you are here. Columbia, Tennessee. Yeah, so many. Looks like I was about to say it's a very United States centric show, but no. Quebec is in the house. Portland is in the house. Saginaw, Michigan, Ontario, Canada. Lancaster County, PA, Oklahoma, Chicago, North Carolina, Toronto, Erie, PA, upstate New York. Glasgow's back in the house. Glad you're here. We've got Hampshire, UK, Idaho, Florida, Minnesota, Arkansas, New Hampshire. So glad you guys are here. Thanks for checking in. All right, join me, if you will, over here on this story from TMZ. Headline says, Nick Reiner diagnosed with schizophrenia. Meds made him dangerous. Remind me to tell you, it'll be a bit of a tangent, but remind me to tell you about the Western Pennsylvania trial that I covered for EYT about the man that was claiming legal insanity, because it was like it was a college level course just to watch that trial lay out over the course of a week or two in that legal insanity defense, which is, I think, what is coming from Mr. Reiner. Okay. Nick Reiner was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and in the weeks leading up to the murder of his parents, Rob and Michele Reiner, the meds he was taking made him, quote, erratic and dangerous, TMZ has learned. Two sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ Nick was under the care of a psychiatrist for mental illness. We're told in the month before the murders, Nick's behavior had gotten alarming. Perhaps this is the reason for the reports of Nick being brought along to the Conan O'Brien Christmas party so that his parents could keep an eye on him. Maybe it was more that they were concerned about his safety than concerned about maybe he was using and would steal or something like that, right? Again, this is all speculation. I try to stay away from speculation so much, guys, but this case is just one of those where we're gonna go there. We're gonna have to talk about these things, and I hope in the live chat during this live stream, because there are many of you who are listening to a podcast or you're watching later, but in the live stream, I hope that you guys give me your opinions as well. Be sure to put GF in your comment for me to read that. He had recently received care at a Los Angeles-based rehab facility that specializes in mental illness and substance abuse. We're told the facility charges $70,000 a month. Whew, and lots of rich, powerful parents send their troubled kids there. Wow. I mean, $70,000 is more than the median household income in the United States. It's got to be, right? It's got to be. What is the median income in the USA? It's close. 83,730 in 2024. So, man, we're close to the median income in the United States. Crazy for a monthly fee for people that have issues with mental illness and substance abuse. Our sources, continues TMZ, say 3 to 4 weeks before the murders, doctors changed his meds and he became even more erratic. Our sources say doctors were trying to adjust the medications so Nick stabilized, but it wasn't working. And I think that this is pretty typical. right? During the time, I mean, look back at the Ellen Greenberg case, right? This one wasn't schizophrenia at all. This was anxiety, right? But she goes to see Dr. Berman. She gets her medication. She finds that she's having issues with the medication. She goes back to Dr. Berman, who changes it, and then, feels much better, right? That this is very typical in medical, or I guess mental health care. But it wasn't working for Nick, and I would imagine that his history of substance abuse, and I suspect, guys, I mean, maybe Autumn can chime in on this. Autumn, our illustrious lead moderator, has, if you guys don't know Autumn, introduce yourselves to Autumn in the live chat, okay? I'm going to talk up Autumn for a second. She's probably blushing right now. But Autumn is a very good example of a person who has done so well to turn her life around, and she sometimes will tell us her experience with substance abuse and the behaviors that go along with that. But my guess is that Mr. Nick Reiner was using, and that's just a guess, but that's what I think. Maybe Autumn, you can chime in and tell us what you think. One source, continues the article, told TMZ once the meds were changed, Nick was out of his head. That in quotes, Nick was out of his head. Our sources also say Nick's substance abuse was worsening the schizophrenia. So TMZ thinks he was abusing drugs as well. And this is, by the way, this is casting, like, I try to be non-judgmental, guys. I try really hard to be non-judgmental about things, especially when it comes to substance abuse and addiction, because it can take something as simple as one decision when you're 13, 14, 15 years old to do something at a party that you wouldn't do that hooks you. Or it could be something like getting a prescription that hooks you. I mean, it can be really, really hard. The issue that I'm having in this story is that Mr. Nick Reiner was, I was about to say obviously, but I would say allegedly, a dangerous, dangerous person at this time. If he did the things that the police and the prosecutors are charging him with, then he was a very dangerous, violent person at this point in his life. Based on what we're hearing, continues the article, this is going to be a case where Nick will plead not guilty by reason of insanity. Now, there was one other little article that I wanted to go to. This comes from our neighbors from the north up there in Alberta, Canada. Schizophrenia warning signs of violence. And I was just looking for something non-academic. You know, you find those peer-reviewed academic papers that require a PhD in order to be able to actually read them, a PhD that yours truly does not hold. And so I was looking for something simple. This is from myhealth.alberta.ca. There are some common signs that can suggest that someone with schizophrenia may become violent. The person may talk about violence. This is especially true when the talk is directed toward specific people, groups of people, or places. And by the way, this is not to point a finger of blame or anything at our victims here, because I think they apparently did not believe that he was violent. They did not see those signs. I believe in my heart of hearts that parents such as Rob and Michele Reiner, who had been dealing with their son's issues for 20 years, something like that, close. I've got to believe that they would be paying close attention. So this is not for the purpose of I guess blaming them for not doing the right thing, because there can be red flags, there can be no flags, right? The person may also talk, write, or draw about death and violence. They may have unexplained mood changes or behave in an aggressive or violent way. Buy or talk about having weapons or other means that could hurt or kill people. This makes me wonder, that little bullet point makes me wonder about the knife. What was the knife? Was it a kitchen knife? Was it a weapon of convenience? Was it something that he purchased because he had these thoughts and feelings of violence? I don't know. The person may not take responsibility for his or her actions or say that the actions are justified. They may drink alcohol or use illegal drugs more often. They may have increased fears of other people, also called paranoia, right? Or they may say he or she hears voices telling him or her to hurt or kill another person. And then it goes on to say most people with schizophrenia aren't violent, but if violence is likely, they need help. Getting help is a way to protect the person or those around him or her. This is let me get back to my little tangent, okay? I covered for my news publication a murder trial where a man who had apparently been diagnosed with schizophrenia for 20 years. I mean, not apparently, he had been diagnosed with schizophrenia for 20 years. It was proven in court, but was somebody who was kind of a docile, kind of a happy guy. One day, just left the house in the wee hours of the morning, walked like a mile or almost two, if the details aren't I don't have the details completely in my head, but stripped completely naked as he was walking, and then showed up on the porch of an elderly couple. And this couple, who were good Samaritans and wanted to help this guy that was in obvious mental anguish, let him in their house, where he then exhibited violent behaviors. The elderly man pulled a gun to protect himself and his wife. The defendant in that case stripped the man of his gun and shot him dead. And for 20 years, he hadn't been violent. Now, what he had been doing is he had been self-medicating. He had not been taking medications that were prescribed to him. He had been self-medicating with marijuana. Anyway, he was found guilty. The jury didn't buy it, didn't buy his defense of legal insanity. And they convicted him of first-degree murder. Not first-degree murder because of mental illness, just first-degree murder. So I was actually shocked by that verdict. I thought that the defense had shown that he was mentally ill and needed to be in a place where he would be hospitalized for the rest of his life, to get that mental health help. Speaking of which, let me go back over to here. There's another, this came from Los Angeles criminallawyer.pro. I just wanted to find a little bit about the legal, legal insanity defense, not the legal defense insanity. That's weird, but anyway, just to find out what it means. Okay. The criminal laws of California are meant to prosecute and punish people for intentional or reckless criminal acts. As such, nearly every crime listed by statute requires that the defendant commit an intentional act or otherwise act in an irresponsible or reckless fashion. Clearly, if a person is unable to control their actions because of a mental defect, they should not be held criminally liable for their behavior. In these circumstances, the legal defense of insanity may apply. California's insanity defense follows the standard established by the McNaughton rule. Under this standard, a defendant is deemed legally insane and not criminally responsible for their actions if they lack the capacity to understand the nature of their actions, or they lack the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. This is maybe the most important part, if a defendant is found to be not guilty of a crime by reason of insanity, they will be committed to a state hospital where they will be confined and treated. The defendant will remain institutionalized until they have regained sanity or the maximum length of sentence for the underlying crime has elapsed. The insanity defense may be raised for any offense in which the legal sanity of the defendant may be in doubt. The defense is an affirmative defense that must be raised and proven by the defense. So this makes it a little bit different, right? If the defense is saying, hey, we are pleading legal insanity, then there is a burden shift. Rather than the burden of the prosecution saying, we need to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this person committed the crime and here are the elements of the crime and we must prove beyond a reasonable doubt each element of the crime, that burden shifts over to the defense, but it's a little bit different. Instead of beyond reasonable doubt, they must prove beyond a preponderance of the evidence that the person was not legally responsible because of legal insanity. It's a very different thing. And that was the main thing in the trial that I covered. It was just, it's just a very, very different thing. Let's see. The defense is a legal defense rather than a defense that a jury might call an act done by a crazy man. Crazy is a common sense word that might characterize certain behavior that cannot be explained for any other reason. For example, people often wonder how a stranger could walk up to a person and just begin to beat them down to the ground. However, that does not mean that the person is legally insane, and therefore the person would be liable for their acts of violence. Let's see, the insanity... I think that's enough. I think we got it, right? But that is what I think is probably going to happen in this case. Mr. Reiner, through his attorney, led by Alan Jackson, is going to probably plead not guilty by reason of legal insanity. Now, that brings me to the next thing that I wanted to talk about, because if Mr. Reiner was under the care of a doctor, and he was being medicated with psychotropic drugs. I don't know if that I used that word the right way, but psychiatric drugs, let's say, drugs developed for psychiatric help. What responsibility does that doctor have in this? And I'm curious about that. I mean, I don't like to think about tort that way. I'm not a litigious person, but we live in America, where this is probably going to be a thing. I think that this particular case is going to go on for a long time, not only because of the criminal proceedings, but I bet there's going to be civil proceedings as well. But let me bring you over to this. So this also comes from TMZ. This is an interview they did with a medical provider, and dang it, I didn't get his name. Go to tmz.com and you'll find this. But he talks about, this being the worst case scenario for a treatment center, for a doctor who is working to help somebody who is schizophrenic. Here we go.
Look, this is the scariest part of being a treatment provider, right? When you think about...
Let me start that over because I think there was a little bit of feedback. I'll mute my mic.
Look, this is the scariest part of being a treatment provider, right? When you think about the complication in this case and how difficult it is to effectively determine as a treatment provider, is this an underlying condition? Has he been schizophrenic his entire life? Or is this induced by methamphetamine abuse? Because it changes how you're going to medicate these treatments. Because if you're coming in and you're detoxing from methamphetamine abuse, you're talking 21 days at minimum before you can effectively diagnose for that underlying condition.
This is interesting to me. He's going to be talking about the timeline here because if this had just started happening over the last month, let's say, his treatment, just listen to the timeline that this guy talks about.
If it is schizophrenia or if it's meth-induced psychosis, at that point, you need another 30 days realistically to stabilize on the psych medications. So you should be looking at 60 to 90 days of detoxification, medical assessment, working with a psychiatrist and a therapist, trying medications and stabilizing. And during that time, abusing no substances. And it doesn't sound like that was the case. If he went to treatment for 1 month, it's a fool's errand to try and detox and medicate for the schizophrenia effectively.
So the frightening part of this is that he's an adult and he's in his 30s. And so his parents don't really have control over him. You've got a guy who is spinning out of control. His parents are doing what they can do, but it's limited. And if he only wants to go for 30 days, he's only going to go for 30 days, no matter whether he should go 60, 90 or not. And so this feels like an unsolvable puzzle.
Yeah, in some respect, you're absolutely right. Right, treatment like this for a young man who is a legal adult in his 30s, he has to cooperate fully. And not only that, but he needs the support of his family because insurance isn't going to cover that cost of treatment for 90 days. At least, historically, if he's going
I don't think that the Reiners were worried about insurance paying for it.
impatient. So he needs them to be willing to pay for it. And they've already paid for it 17 times from everything I've read. How much are the parents expected to be able to do? And again, he has to cooperate. So you have this perfect storm of circumstances that, like I said, this is my worst nightmare as a treatment provider. It's an unsolvable solution. This is where ethics and integrity as a treatment center come into play. You have a moral obligation, I believe, to the patient and I'll be the first to acknowledge, hey, listen, if you're only coming into my facility for 30 days, based on our initial assessment, I don't think that that's enough time. And no matter how much you're willing to pay, I would be doing a disservice to you. I'd be wasting your money. And I've done this before where I've had to turn patients away. Unfortunately, these are businesses. You can't expect that that's always going to be the case. And that's why it's so critical and important to do your research and make sure that you're working with an ethical, upstanding provider that understands their limitations, right? It'd be the same if you went to go see a primary care physician and you had cancer and he didn't refer you to an oncologist, right? Because they want the business. That's not okay. And that's where healthcare ethics come into play.
I find that extremely interesting, right? And it makes me wonder, again, I will repeat what I said, but like what responsibility a doctor might have here because the absolute worst happened, and was he inpatient for long enough? It's just that, this is Monday morning quarterbacking, of course, but talk about scary, right? From the provider side, that one of your clients might do this. Scary. Let's go over to your comments before I move on to the next stuff that I have prepared. Okay, real quick. And let's bring up pictures of our victims here. Joanne Marie says, mental health issues and addictions are real and can go hand in hand. If he gets sent to a psychiatric facility, I hope that when they say he's better, I hope they don't just let him go free. Yeah, I think that he's going to spend the rest of his life in an institution, and hopefully he is able to live a meaningful, healthy life. Panda Ann says, my oldest daughter is schizophrenic. I also had a friend who lost her battle to metheny. I don't know what metheny is. What is metheny? I don't know what that is, but okay. I can tell you when I would imagine that's the use of methamphetamine, maybe. I can tell you when my daughter came unhinged, it was very similar to what I saw in my friend. Wow. So the same kind of behavior, huh? That's tough. Pandan says, being up days on end, mind you, my daughter has been tested for drugs and alcohol and irregular and always negative. Well, good. I'm happy for your daughter. Karen says, my brother was okay in the daytime. He would go to work on cars with his friends, and when he came home, he was irritated, pacing around, and would walk in or talk in circles when questioned about what was wrong. Yeah, I'm so tough. So tough. She continues, turns out voices were talking to him at night. He thought my mom and I were plotting to kill him. That paranoia. Wow. We had to leave Kentucky, couldn't get anyone to believe us. Wow. Mooney says, do you know how long before this he was being treated and if it was inpatient? We don't. Like, I've looked at so many articles today, and they all point back to the very article from TMZ that I just read to you. So we don't have that. We don't have that information. TMZ said outpatient. Did they say outpatient? Let me see. No, I didn't. Well, I didn't see it in that article anyway. A couple of other ones. K-Bear, hi from Eureka, California. I love Eureka. I used to fly there. There's a little airport up there that I would do cross countries, and I love it. A little mountain flying. Anyway, first time live. I'm a grizzly. That's how I heard of you. So happy I did. Glad you were here. Thank you. We love Grizzly True Crime. Psych Nerd, hello from Valdosta, Georgia. Late, so going to the beginning. Good on you. Put it at 1.5 speed. Maybe you'll catch up. All right. Anything else before we move on? The first laugh says, Gavin, hair's looking good, boss. Still right here with you, my friend. Thank you. It is. I'm so ready to cut this hair, but I got to make it to April, I think. Kentucky Granny X10 says, human nature to look at the events through our own understanding. Those with mental health conditions do not think like we do, while we try to approach with logic. Schizophrenia affects logic. Yeah, that's a good reminder. Good reminder. Thank you for that. Oh, I see. Methany, she was changing the words for me. You don't have to do that on this channel. We're cool. Patty says meds for schizophrenia do not make people dangerous. Well, I think that provider that just talked about how it takes time to, I don't want to say experiment, but that's kind of what it is. Test the reaction to different things. And if they are using illicit drugs as well, then I don't know. I don't know, Patty. I don't know. I don't have the I guess bona fides to have an opinion on that. I don't know. Dandelion says, I heard that he posted on social media that someone is going to need to bail me out. I have not seen that, but it's possible. Karen says, my brother didn't comply with the meds because they made him sleepy and out of it. That is exactly what the defendant in the trial that I covered said. He didn't like feeling lethargic. Jenny the Pooh says, Gavin should keep the hair. It itches and is hot, and I'm doing this for the purpose of donating hair. Yeah, time to regulate meds is necessary. Great comments, everybody. Thank you so much for your comments. Now, the next thing that I wanted to bring to you, and we're going to run out of time again today, man, is another article from TMZ. All the articles that I'm reading today are published today, the TMZ articles. It says Nick Reiner is spending his days in the LA jail dealing with the aftermath of the violent murders of his parents, and he's not been able to fully process it, TMZ has learned. One source with direct knowledge tells TMZ Nick is not reeling in grief, rather he's in a fog, in no small part due to his medical condition and the meds he's taking. Our source goes on to characterize Nick as calm, cognizant, and dazed, adding Nick isn't even close to processing what happened. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. We're told Nick's meds were changed in the weeks leading up to the murders. They caused Nick to lose even more control. Doctors were adjusting the meds to no avail. Okay. So that's the only part that I need to read about that. Just from a reporter's point of view, guys, jails are places where they are just leaky with sources for reporters. So it's not surprising to me that TMZ has developed over time a source or two, a corrections officer, a lieutenant, a sergeant, a mental health provider, a nurse, whatever. Probably 50 of them inside that jail over the years. So this is one where I'm like, yeah, I would probably be able to get this information. The question for the reporter is, does the source really have direct knowledge? And can you corroborate that with another source? So if like Officer Jones comes to me and says, hey, I have been covering a shift where Nick Reiner is in here and he's in a fog and he's calm, cognizant, and dazed, it would be irresponsible for me to report it unless I was able to somehow corroborate from somebody else that indeed that source is covering Nick. So I don't know. They say they have a source. I don't know. Okay, the last one. And this one is important. I know that the Reiners are of Jewish heritage, and I'm sensitive to that and want to. I'm sure that everybody in LA wants to be sure that the proper funeral rites and burial and everything is able to be done within the tradition that they may or may not have followed, but I think they did. Rob and Michele Reiner's bodies released to family. Rob Reiner's and Michele Singer Reiner's bodies have been released from the LA County Medical Examiner's custody, TMZ has learned. A source with knowledge tells TMZ the Reiner's bodies have been released to the family. Details on a service will be released at a later time. And then, and I mean, that's pretty much it. And we know that it's going to be January 7th before the next arraignment. So I imagine over the next couple of weeks, we're 17 days out from that. There will be a lot of speculation. There will be a lot of rumor. There will be a lot of reports that come out that may or may not be accurate. So let's just, I guess, work really hard to be compassionate and exhibit the best parts of humanity toward the Reiners. I hope that they are able to have a funeral and memorial that is in keeping with their family beliefs and traditions, and that they're able to do so in a way that makes it so that they can grieve and properly say goodbye to their loved ones. With that, guys, you know what it's time for? It is time for some other true crime headlines. Here we go.
True crime headlines.
Pow. Okay. Just a couple of headlines. I've got 3 headlines in cases that we are following. We're just going to be really kind of quick about it. Then we'll get over into the 3 questions. Okay. Protesters gather outside the home of missing 9-year-old Melody Buzzard. Now, this is a case that I have been following because, I've been checking in on every day. What is going on? What is going on? What is going on? And it has been bubkus. Okay, so yesterday, Thursday, December 18th, a small protest gathered outside the Vandenberg Village home of Ashley Buzzard, the mother of missing 9-year-old Melody Buzzard. Melody has been missing since October 9th, and authorities say the case remains an active missing child investigation. Santa Clarita resident Natasha George says, quote, "We want answers and see where Melody is. We want her home. We want her home for Christmas. All these lovely people out here are moms. We just want to help her bring Melody back home safe." Protesters say their goal is to keep the public's attention on the case. The Santa Barbara Sheriff's Office reports that the investigation is still active and ongoing, and there haven't been any more media releases from the sheriff's office that I have seen. So that's where we are on Melody Buzzard. This one we talked about a little bit yesterday, but I found the release from the U.S. Attorney's Office about J.P. Miller. You guys remember Pastor Miller? Saying pastor just kills me. Myrtle Beach pastor, let's use air quotes, pastor, indicted for cyber stalking wife before her death. Dateline Florence, South Carolina. A federal grand jury in Columbia returned a 2-count indictment against John Paul Miller, 46, of Myrtle Beach for cyber stalking and making false statements to federal investigators. Don't make false statements to federal investigators. The indictment alleges that beginning in November 2022, Miller sent unwanted and harassing communications to his estranged wife until her death on April 27, 2024. The harassing behavior included Miller posting a nude photo of the victim online without her consent, causing tracking devices to be placed on her vehicle, and in one instance, contacting her over 50 times in a single day. The indictment also alleges he interfered with her finances and her daily activities, and on one occasion damaged her vehicle tires. Federal investigators interviewed Miller about these allegations, and Miller lied in his responses. Miller said he did not damage the victim's tires, when in fact he purchased a tire deflation device online and sent messages to others regarding the victim's vehicle. He's facing a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison for cyberstalking, 2 years in prison for his false statements. He also faces a fine of up to $250,000. And I am hoping that this federal indictment, I am so glad that the feds have stepped in here. I am hoping that that is going to lead to the passage of Micah's Law in South Carolina. Okay, last headline. This from yesterday. Former Kentucky sheriff makes brief court appearance. This, of course, the case of Kevin Mullins. Judge Kevin Mullins was a Kentucky district court judge who was gunned down in his chambers by the sheriff, Mickey Steins. He was shot 9 times, if memory serves. And I think this is going to be a legal insanity defense as well. Okay, it was an extremely brief court appearance Thursday for the former Letcher County sheriff accused of shooting and killing a judge last year. Former Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins appeared at the Letcher County Courthouse Thursday afternoon for a scheduled hearing in the case. Blah, blah, blah. At Thursday's hearing, the judge immediately adjourned and said the hearing would be reset to another time as soon as practical. The Commonwealth attorney found out something shortly before the hearing was set to begin, which led it to being quickly adjourned. No idea what that means. What did the Commonwealth attorney find out? No idea. The judge said he wanted to be fair to both sides, make sure the case is handled correctly. So that is the update in our true crime headlines. Now let's move on. 3 questions.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow! Okay, you guys know the rules. If you don't, here are the rules. In this segment, I answer 3 questions sent in by you to the email address 3questions@gavinfish.com. It's spelled out, THREE, questions@gavinfish.com. You can send in any question at all, and I will endeavor my best to answer that question. I try not to prepare answers, though I kind of cheated today. I cheated today because there was a hard question. But you can send in 1 question, you can send in 100 questions, you can send in questions anytime you want. Even if you've already sent in questions before, just go for it. Email 3questions@gavinfish.com. Question number 1. What's the best practical joke someone played on you or you on someone else? The only thing that I can think of, okay, so I went to junior high and high school in the 80s and early 90s. And we lived in an area where we just the fun thing to do on a Friday or Saturday night was to just go toilet papering. I loved it. And I spent my entire childhood TPing houses because I have an older sister and 2 older brothers. They would take me along. So from the time I was like 10 or 11, I was going out at midnight, throwing toilet paper rolls into people's houses, into people's trees. And on occasion, we would be out doing the TPing. And when we got back, our house had been hit by vicious TPing bandits. It was just something that everybody did. We loved it. We had a lot of fun doing it. There were a couple of practical jokes. I guess I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Question number 2. Tell us about how you like to fly. Have you ever been skydiving? I do like to fly. What I don't like to do is fall. So no, I've never been skydiving. Lots of friends and family have done it. It's just nothing that I've ever been interested in doing. I've bungee jumped, done a couple of those things, but no, I've never gone skydiving. For me, flight is magic in just the flying. I don't need to do aerobatics. I don't need to do anything fancy, crazy, daredevil-y at all. I just need to be in the air. And it's something that I deeply, deeply love. Sometimes I will do sometimes if I have a passenger that's interested in aviation and they want to learn while we're up there, and I'm not a instructor. I'm not a CFI. Okay. But if people are interested in aviation, they want to know a few things. And as long as I'm not breaking any type of federal aviation regulation, I will do things like stalls or whip stalls or stuff like that is safe, is within the aircraft's design parameters. Sometimes I have on occasion flown very, very low to the ground. I had a friend who had a very fast airplane, and we were coming home from a flight to Catalina, I think, going back to Sacramento. So Southern California to Northern California. And when you get above Los Banos, it's just a bunch of lakes, a bunch of water. And so it's very easy to stay within the regulations of being 500 feet away from any man-made object or any person, right? So you can take it down really, really low. And I'm not talking really low. You're not like touching the water, but like 50 feet off the ground, 100 feet off the ground, and just zip over the water. It's fun. But I have flown everything under the sun. It could be open cockpit. It can be experimental. It can be light sport. It can be fully certificated. It can be, single engine, multi-engine. I love it all. I just love, love, love flight. And I've been doing it for now, let's see, in January, I think that'll be 25 years since I've been certificated. Last question. Use the letters in your name, GAVIN, to describe yourself. Okay, this one was hard. Okay, this one was hard. So I prepared myself because I wouldn't be able to do this off the cuff. G, I am goofy. Here on the channel, we talk about serious things. So I'm kind of a serious person, but people who know me know that I am and have always been a goof. People tell me I'm funny. I certainly love to have fun. So that's G. A, I'm authentic. People who have met me know me. You know who I am. I'm kind of an open book. V, vocal. I am loud. I speak loudly, and I have no problem talking to anybody. It could be a stranger. It could be a room of 10,000 people. I don't mind at all. So I thought vocal was good. I chose intentional. I like to live my life in a very purposeful and purpose-driven way. Something that Kimberly and I always have taught our children and really try to drum it into them is to live your life in an intentional way. Don't be blown around by the breeze. Don't be influenced easily by others. Make those others work for your, it's not your influence, but make them work to influence you. And then neighborly, I chose for N1 because I learned from Mr. Rogers to be neighborly. And I have always had terrific neighbors, whether they live next door or across the nation. I strive to be neighborly, and that, my friends, is 3 questions.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow. Okay, before we go, let's just check in on what y'all are saying in the live stream. Let's see. Dude, I gotta scroll. Let's see. Ananya Mouse, that's a great handle, says meds for schizophrenia, antipsychotics make people more like zombies, but they are sometimes combined with antidepressants, which some people have unusual reactions to. Thank you. Gavin, please watch Mia Bailey's brother's statement at her sentencing hearing today. It's incredible and so on point about mental health, how the system fails. I will do that. Thank you. Emily, thank you very much for sending a membership. So grateful to you. Thank you for doing that. Gavin, didn't the incident happen on the first night of the Festival of Lights? I think so. I think Sunday or Saturday night. Yeah, I think so. Misconduct. I'm gonna give you this one. You didn't put GF, but compassion is not believing TMZ until proof is provided, in my opinion. I think that's fair. Emmy, did you ever answer my 3 questions? I believe I did, Emmy. I believe I did. Gavin, just warning to check out who you're planning to donate your hair, because they don't take all donations or they don't use, and those who get wigs are charged a significant fee. Yeah, Judy, I've been warned about this. I am being very purposeful, keeping that I in my name. I'm being very purposeful with where my hair is going. Thank you for that. Emmy also sent a membership. Thank you very much. Thank you for doing that. You guys are awesome. And then Misconduct says, do you know that Charlie Kirk's killer has asked for the whole prosecution office to be recused? No, I hadn't been following it. I need to go back and follow it. Thank you very much. Emmy, yes. Listen, you don't need to ask a question more than once. You can ask it once, and I will see it if you put GF in there, okay? But yeah, I did answer your questions. I remember it precisely. All right, guys, that is all we have for you tonight. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. As we record this video, it is Friday night. I'm taking the weekend off. I'm going to spend it with my snuggly bear, my sweetie pie, my one and only, which is going to be awesome. Got some Christmas shopping to do. I hope wherever you are, that you are enjoying the season, that you are with or near family, and that just, I don't know, that love is raining down on you. I love this season. I just love this season. So we will be back Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern time. Before we go, just a very quick notaroo. For those of you who are new, I do have a website, gavinfish.com. It is always linked in the description below. You can always find me there. You can reach out to me by clicking on this little envelope icon. The support me page lists all the ways that you can support me, and I'm deeply, deeply grateful to all of you who do. Thank you so much for that. You guys are amazing. Also, if you're up for it, no guilt, no pressure, but please support my lead mod Autumn as well. If you click on this little fish right here, that will take you to the fish tank where we hang out on the Book of Faces. You're always cordially invited to join us in the tank. With that, I shall bid you adieu, thanking you once again for being here, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.